So I wanted to focus on a very particular part of the Vancouver Canucks and this entire management shifting that we have seen. Yes, it's true. The Sedins and GM Ryan Johnson spoke to the media throughout various capacities. They had their press conference, Ryan Johnson was on the radio. There's a lot that we can dissect and analyze when it comes to their vision for the Vancouver Canucks and what the plan seems to be. That's great. We're going to have a lot of time over the next few months to talk about these things. So in today's video, I wanted to focus on what Elliotte Friedman had to say on his Canucks Central hit with Satyar Shah and Bick Nazar, obviously because Friedman is the top dog, top of the food chain ever since Bob McKenzie retired at NHL Insider Information. In fact, we've got a number of things that Friedman said that we're going to be talking about in today's video, but I wanted to dive into this. It's a recap of Elliotte Friedman's interview with Canucks Central. Canucks News Summaries is in Japan, and it seems like they're visiting Totoro, which is just absolutely awesome. And there is a pretty intense write-up as to everything that Friedman said on the program. So again, big shout out over to Canucks News Summaries for always providing us with the scoop. Let's talk about what Elliotte Friedman spoke about in regards to the Canucks, the Sedins, and Ryan Johnson. He said he was surprised that Henrik and Daniel Sedin ended up as presidents because he assumed they were going to have a similar structure as the Maple Leafs. Now, the Maple Leafs, if you weren't aware of what's going on over there, they got themselves a new GM, John Chayka, but they also got a new senior executive advisor of hockey ops in Matt Sundin. Now, obviously, senior executive advisor of hockey operations is not the same as president. It's just, hey, you are the top guy when it comes to advising the hockey ops department. You are the person that they turn to and ask questions to when you give them your feedback. You're not necessarily doing stuff, you're just the advisor. So Friedman was going out there and thinking that the Sedins would take that step, rather than taking a big leap up to the top of the food chain as co-presidents. Not saying that's a good thing or a bad thing, that's what happened, but just saying that that's what Friedman said. It wasn't until Monday that Friedge realized that the Sedins would be ahead of Ryan Johnson. Friedman says here the Sedins had to make two decisions. One, were they ready to take a bigger role? And two, who was going to be their general manager? Now, by all accounts, it does seem like the Sedins were more inclined to taking Ryan Johnson over Evan Gould, assistant general manager and legal affairs director for the Boston Bruins. Seemed like the Sedins were more inclined to just take the guy that they were more familiar with and they are aligned with. Also, there were reports saying that Evan Gould supposedly wanted to bring a whole bunch of his own guys in, which may or may not have had an impact as to whether or not the Sedins would have been comfortable with that. So let's just read on. He said he wasn't sure when they were asked, but they have been pondering this move for a little while. They could have been in charge sooner, but the Sedins did not feel ready until now. Ryan Johnson was informed on Sunday night that he would be GM. They negotiated the contract after that. So, wow, okay. Ryan Johnson, we knew that he was going to be the general manager, I want to say around Monday, Tuesday. And then Wednesday, Thursday, we waited a little bit longer. And then, of course, yesterday, Thursday, was the actual press conference and the announcement. But Johnson knew for a while. That's pretty interesting. Friedman then spoke out about the front office structure of the Canucks. He thinks the Canucks are going to bring in a new assistant general manager. There also is going to be some change, but it won't be as massive as he originally thought a few months ago. Well, yeah, I mean, if the Sedins and Ryan Johnson are still on board with the same staff that's already been there, if they still believe in Castonguay and Granato, then okay, maybe there is an avenue where they just straight up say, yeah, like, keep them. They're fine. Emily Castonguay on Twitter, you can see her picture. It's her with Ryan Johnson and Cami Granato. So all the Canucks AGMs of the past little while in the photograph. It does seem like there is a decent connection there, even though they might be interested in bringing in another assistant general manager. Friedman also spoke about how the Canucks have started extending people that they want to keep in the organization. He isn't sure who, though. He has also heard that some of the people without contracts have been rectified. The Canucks will look at expanding their analytics department, the possibility that this is very much on their radar. And Friedman also thinks that one of the things they talked about with Evan Gold was growing that analytics department. Man, I like the sound of that. I want to see Ryan Johnson and his Calder Cup championship winning brain go out there and get some analytics into the fold. Vancouver has been lacking with the analytics department over the past few years, and you think about some of these names that have been tossed in and around the organization, from Jim Benning to Francesco Aquilini-Medling to Dale Talon and what he's been doing in the Vancouver Canucks organization. I mean, senior advisor and pro scout, Dale Talon is not an analytics guy, as much as we appreciate the work that he did with the Canucks a long time ago as a second overall pick. But this goes to show you that Vancouver seems to be interested in taking this in a new direction, and that's ultimately what we want. Friedman then spoke about head coaching. He believes there is league interest in Manny Malhotra. He believes the Maple Leafs have interest in him, and he also thinks the Kings might too, but he's not 100% there. Malhotra's name came up in the Maple Leafs GM search from one candidate. Wait, as a general manager or as a coaching candidate? Okay, I'm just going to assume coaching candidate. Manny is not going to be a GM. Oh my goodness. Friedman then says there is a real feeling in the Canucks organization that it is hard to judge Adam Foote from this season because a lot happened that was out of his control. You know what? I'm going to say, yeah, I agree with that. Adam Foote did not have a good hand in this season. He was dealt a crappy team with a crappy captain that wanted to leave and terrible team dynamics, and, you know, he had to deal with a lot of injuries. So, Adam Foote, let's give you another shot. Another chance to prove that you actually belong in the NHL as a head coach, and if the team sucks and the Canucks get DuPont, then that's great. There is literally no downside to Adam Foote sticking around unless you just genuinely want the team to do better. I don't know if anybody really wants that in the short term, but I digress. Friedman is under the impression that the Canucks plan to not give permission for Malhotra to speak with other teams until they made a final decision on their coaching staff, but that was with Rutherford in charge. He doesn't know how this new front office feels about it. Oh yeah, that's definitely going to be an interesting element. Do Ryan Johnson and the Sedins believe in Adam Foote as much as Jim Rutherford believed in Adam Foote? We all know that Rutherford was essentially the main guy. He did all the big moves and he had all the big decisions about the Canucks and whatever. Like, Patrick Allvin didn't do anything when it comes to the main fragmented pieces of transactions that needed to be done with this team. Rutherford picked Miller over Horvat. Rutherford signed Pettersson. Rutherford did the Quinn Hughes trade. He probably had a say with the coach too. So we'll see whether or not this current regime is interested in keeping Adam Foote around. Then Friedman talks about the Oilers. They weren't firing Chris Knobloch unless a Bruce Cassidy-level coach was available. He also doesn't see Craig Berube, who was also fired by the Maple Leafs, as the guy that the Oilers are looking for. And then Friedge says that the LA Kings will go after Bruce Cassidy hard. They are a long way away from contention, and they need some help. So with that said, you can let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about this Canucks News summary on Elliotte Friedman's hit with Canucks Central? It's a pretty interesting look as to where the news was going over the past few days and what the Canucks' direction seems to be under this new regime that is very clearly trying to separate themselves from the work and the regime that we had seen with Quinn Hughes and Jim Rutherford and JT Miller. I, for one, am excited for a new direction, especially if it involves losing a lot over the next few years. But you can let me know your thoughts in the comment section below. How do you feel about Elliotte Friedman's update? I hope you enjoyed this video, and bye.